waiting on a few parts, but I'm buttoning up Bruce.
And this is where we left off on episode 15 of the Volvo Rescue. Bruce's engine bay starting to finally look more like a normal car. You remember I said there were some clearance issues with the radiator and the fan, and while there's a little bit of space in there, you can see how I had to cut the mounts and the bolt right through the front. Here's what it looks like on the later year cars, like 67 and forward.
T-minus 10 days till moving, but I'm gonna say a week because I wanted to make some time to make my goodbye tour around town. And anyway, the point is, I'm waiting on some parts for this car, most importantly the stuff that's keeping it from starting, which is the exhaust manifold, and therefore I can put in the exhaust system master cylinder for the brakes. Not necessary to start the engine, but I would like that. The new coolant overflow bottle, yep, that would be good there. You know, got good clearance between my fan. I call it good, but it's good enough. The hardware kit for the front nose on Genevieve, that way I can actually attach the hood latches.
You remember I had said the trunk needed to be done section by section, so I finally finished that up in the last couple days. And then I breezed on through all the wiring on the rear section. The taillights, it's funny that VP now offers brand new taillights, but back in the summer of 2019, they didn't have those available. So what I just did, it was drilled some holes in my wood block here so that I could stick the light inside of it and those sockets could fit in there while I used the polishing wheels. And then I had to go through and rebuild the wiring because there were some sections that like to break, which is a very common thing on these cars. So more often than not, you might find that you've got taillights that don't work just because the ends of those wires are broken.
I took these little guys, the smallest ones, I bent them one way, I bent them the other way so that they would be centered, and there they are, living right in the middle on the back side. But there's really not much to show there. Today, it's not, I'm sorry I'm skipping through a lot of stuff, but I did put in the carpet in the back. Very straightforward. It's a 3-piece. One piece goes there, tucks around the hardware, the little brackets for the toolkit. Second piece just goes all the way up and nicely tucks, thankfully, underneath my seat belts. I guess the way I positioned them was just right. Good on me. And then the third piece wraps around here. It's shaped kind of like a T, so it goes this way, and then that piece that goes this way will wrap down on either side. But as it goes down that way, there is a left and a right. My finger right now is underneath where the filler neck goes, so that piece wraps around here, and then it kind of just sits like that. And I don't think there's a panel that goes here because there ain't nothing to cover the taillights. But the side panels are in, they're just pressed in place. The ends of them do have a crease. I'm sure that covers the gap. But all the wires for the taillights have been run underneath here. I sent BP an email and I told them, hey, whoever supplied this harness is using double thickness when they should be using single thickness, and they confirmed, yeah, sorry about that. Cool, that's all I needed to know. The rug's kind of in place. I don't know what to call it. It's not really a floor mat, but it is a rubber mat, and it's not quite a carpet, but it is a carpet. The holes were tentatively cut out around, which means very slowly, but kind of poorly and at an angle and smaller than they should be, so that if I need to make them larger, I can do that later, but you can't ever make them smaller again. But I have the seatbelt anchor in place. Actually, on this side, all 3 of them are in place. Unfortunately, you have to cut there. There is a crease on this that shows, I believe you need to cut this whole thing off. This is probably just for the machining purposes. So I'm not sure yet. I'm waiting until my felt kit arrives, but that actually is heading to California because I ordered it yesterday. So it ain't gonna come out until then. Before I put the seats in, so that I can make the space, because right now they're sitting in the living room. I need to shorten the choke cables because right now we've got ourselves a very unequal length. They are equal length, but we have an unequal need. Maybe it needs to be like that. So I'm gonna cut off a shorter piece, and right now we've got the steel braided cable here, which lives underneath the rubber insulation, so I'm gonna cut back the rubber first. Thanks to Kendall for kind of writing it out, because I had no idea how to shorten these. I didn't want to just cut through them. But I'm glad I have friends that have done the same thing and can give me a pointer. And then after that, the rest of the video is going to be a time lapse of the day the drive shaft is going to get installed. I ordered a new brake line that goes from the master cylinder junction block down to the back wheels. Because there is a pinch in the line right at the rear axle junction, and I was reading online, other people have had a similar pinch. Okay, one other person has had a similar pinch, and then I'll pull out the proportioning valve, rebuild it. So many things in so little time. We've got 3 weeks until Slow Rolling Festival, and I do have the windshield sealer that's gonna be put on later. That is right here. Auto bedding and glazing compound, a non-hardening, pliable, water-resistant sealer for exterior sealing of windshield rubber and other seams requiring a non-paintable product that remains permanently soft. Has a non-sag consistency for vertical and overhead application. Don't mix that up with window weld, because window weld is a super fast urethane, so it's basically caulk, and it seals with this nice tar black substance that you may have had to cut out. The thing about the glazing compound, which is 08509, not 08609, which is the window weld, but 08509 stays soft, because if you ever need to remove these, you are gonna want something soft, or you're gonna be really kicking yourself in the butt. Oh, another big issue. These back windows, the part number I have is for the Amazon Favorite, and the Favorite, it's called a Favorite because it's the affordable option. It was real cheap. It was like the debadged, detuned version of the Amazon, and it did not have windows that opened in the back. There's only so much you can take down from a car in the 60s to make it cheaper. They may not have had the stainless trim right here. They didn't have it up here on the rain gutter, but the seals for the windows were fixed in place, and I can't find those new ones that I need that do allow for the hinging, because they had the cutouts here, and I think a metal backing strip. So I'm gonna explore some options there. I hope I kept those old seals somewhere. I don't see them. Very likely I threw them away like a bad boy. I'm sad, but pretty excited to be moving forward with this. So enjoy the time lapses for the rest of the day. It's gonna be a heck of a busy weekend, and then Monday I start packing the house. Today's Saturday. Did I already say that?
You know, we're 16 episodes in already on season 3 of the Volvo Rescue, just getting Bruce back together. I was getting a little impatient with the pace of my videos because we're so close to kind of that finish line. So I put up 2 polls on YouTube and Instagram, and I asked everyone, do you prefer more the lengthy step-by-step journey of a restoration, or would you rather I just get to the point with those highlights? 81% on Instagram, 91% on YouTube of the replies said, it's all about that journey, baby. So here we go.
It seems we have the wrong headliner. 98391-1. It's gray, it's the B16 style, and that's what we want. The roof dimensions are all the same between B16 and B18 cars. The differences are in the molding. By that I mean at the ends of the headliner, like this is the part here that's gonna go down the sides. Well, you see we've got channels in here that take the plastic, and the plastic headliner will fit in there all the way across these channels. The early cars didn't have that. There was anything before chassis number 40 something 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 something. This is the plastic. It's the same thing like this. I called them. I spoke to the representative, and they're going to call me back with some answers.
So doing the headliner installation was a no-go, but it's time to put those seats in. That's the next item on our list. In a moment, we'll do the fronts, but there's still a few small bits to put in place. I do like how this turned out, though.
I've got the overdrive switch checked out on the bottom. I've got the wires up in there for the test leads, and then the other one that goes to the solenoid on our J-type. It's going to beep once I put it in fourth if the switch works. All right. That's showing us that we're getting continuity through our overdrive switch on the top of the transmission. That switch is a safety feature that means you cannot activate overdrive in any gear but fourth. If you do it in reverse, especially if you just happen to be in reverse and you flick the overdrive switch on accident, as people tend to do, they'll pretty much grenade the internals of it. Here at the relay side, this black wire here is the one that's going to run off to the bottom of transmission for the reverse light. That's terminal number 85 on the reverse relay. So in my case, the reverse switch is not working on the backside of the transmission, and that's something I'm going to address later when I do the transmission rebuild. I could really appreciate that my shop painted the heater box, but I don't really appreciate that they didn't paint the inside at all. This is just pure bare metal, and it's gonna rust. It experiences a lot of moisture. Sometimes there's just no winning.
Well, I felt like I was winning with these seats because my luck turned around and I had a really good time putting everything together. I'll point out a few of the important bits, but for the most part, the rest of this video will just be the assembly of those front seats and the frames.
I don't mean to hijack the time lapse, but I want to bring up something very important. In between the side mounting holes, there is a rivet. It looks like a breather grommet. That is actually an access hole for the lumbar control, which is right here. All of that, eh? You can actually access that from those holes if the alignment is right. I'm not going to have that luxury with my seat covers because they're the early style and they're not supposed to have lumbar control. However, if I get lucky, I might be able to just squeeze in here. Maybe not. Let's not push our luck. Back to the time lapse. here. She's re-webbed. Everything's snug. I like this Elastolite, L-I-T-E. These are holes for the headrest, so yeah, some of these cars can be retrofitted with headrest. I went with halfway on the lumbar and then made it snug so I can actually go tighter with it if I want. I have a feeling this is going to be sufficient. However, I've run out of Elastolite, so I'm going to be using seatbelt material, which is a perfectly acceptable alternative. I will use the Elastolite for the lumbar. I think I've got enough for that. Start putting foam and then upholstery. On this center bar here, the newer style seats, and this is of course a frame for a newer style seat, has these S-shaped hooks. They clip there and they are retainers which give you access to this bar or rib. I don't know exactly what you want to call it. The spaces you really want to watch out for are these corners. That's where it starts to rip through. So I want to really make sure that that's built up nicely. Now on the underside of the foam, that's where they had this old jute material, I guess you'd call it. It's pretty brittle and it's just meant to prevent rubbing through the foam. I'm going to replace that with something a little more modern, let's say. And all this is just a cover to help slip the upholstery on and off. It keeps the vinyl slick. It's also perfect for horror movies. So if you're looking at making a sequel to La La Lorna, this is it. When I am cleaning these tracks up, I put on these 2 bolts so that it can be moved back and forth easily, and I put a zip ties to hold this open so I can slide it. Alexa, what time is it?
It's 4:09 a.m.
Ah, crap. I was hoping it was only 2 a.m. This is why I don't look at the clock. If your seat's original, your inside backing could be a lot like this. It held its shape, and it was keeping resistance, but any flexing, I'm talking serious flexing, look at that. Oh, do you see that cloud of dust? So it'll hold, but you may want to consider changing it. It's actually quite easy. The hardest part is just the bottom of the seat. If you've got a newer style, anything after like 63 or 64, I think, the bottom of the seat has these plastic seams, and they do tuck into a channel. It's a big C channel that just runs the length of the bottom, and those go down and under, and they tuck, and they kind of keep each other in check. That's probably the hardest part, is just the bottom of your seat. For me, it's hog-ringed because of that custom job. You have certain areas that are troublesome, like there's just a flap right here where the snap is too far outboard. There needs to be more on the inside. Oh well. You know, there's no bar like the other seats have, that seam right here So this is floating all the way, and as I sit down in it, it will absorb me and it will keep the nice lumbar shape like the rest of the seats, the more modern style. So it's not going to feel flat, but it certainly has that appearance of flatness like the bottom, which is what we wanted with the early 60s cars. Actually, the bottom is also floating. The sides are built up as per the new foam that VP sent us.
Hopefully this doesn't ruin Amazon's for you entirely, but the stitch does not line up between the top and bottom panel. Depending on what year and style, it gets a little bit worse. But for the most part, another day passes and it's time to do the opposite side, which is so much easier once you've done the first side and you kind of know your way around things. So this is going to go very quickly, and then a quick installation will wrap things up for today.